Hi, this is Heidi Fairhurst, and I chose to do an ethnographic on English language learners in the U.S. public school system. So I was able to interview a woman from Lima, Peru. She's been married for 17 years and has 2 children. She currently teaches first grade in Davie, Florida. She has over 25 years of decorated military service, and she balances her family, teaching job, and her job as a civil affairs officer for the U.S. military. She immigrated to the United States from Peru at the age of 14. To protect her privacy, we are going to use the pseudonym Mariella. My interview with Mariella was very eye-opening. It showed me what it was like to be in school in the U.S. and not speak English. In 1992, 1 million people immigrated to the United States. Mariella and her family were 6 of them. They immigrated when Mariella's mom accepted a job as a teaching nurse in Hialeah, Florida. Mariella was sad to leave her extended family and to miss out on her quinceañera, which is an extremely important tradition that celebrates a 15-year-old's coming of age. When she first went to public school in Florida, Mariella was interviewed or assessed to determine what education level she would be in. She said that the interview was brief, and I guess I didn't give the right answers. Mariella and her parents didn't know any different and went along with what was recommended. As a result, this placed Mariella in a full year behind the grade she had previously been in. All right, so these statistics gave me some insight into what the immigration population was like at the time that Mariella moved to Florida in comparison to what they are now. So you can see in 1990, children that were residing in the U.S. from immigrant families was from around 8 million, roughly 13.4%. So now in 2022, children in the U.S. from immigrant families grew to 17.6 million, equaling 25.7%. So these numbers gave me and give us in general a good idea of what trends we can expect to see as far as English language learners in education in the future. So the area that Mariella immigrated to and had a high population of immigrants and Spanish speakers. At school, she joined an exclusion ESL classroom full of Spanish-speaking students. Mariella told me the teacher didn't speak Spanish and the students didn't speak English, so there was no way to communicate. She explained that having so many Spanish-speaking students in a class made it, she said that there was no real motivation or maybe reason to learn English because she could communicate with everyone in the class. While this limited her language acquisition, it actually gave her the confidence to seek for more than the education that they initially were offering. She described the demographic of her new school, saying it was nice because you're with people with a similar culture, speaking Spanish, so it was not that scary. She explained that there were enough Spanish speakers to fill an ESL class for each grade level. Mariella explained that she didn't learn academic English until she was in college. She recalled the ESL teacher playing the song Pretty Woman and telling the students to listen to the language in the lyrics and try to memorize them. When it came to conversation, there was none. This exclusion classroom severely limited the students' opportunity to integrate into their new country's culture, impacting their chances to speak and practice English. Mariella admitted, I didn't feel like I was learning anything. She felt like the intentions were good, but that the immigrant students had been segregated and didn't have access to the same education that other students had. Mariella's experience supports a case for inclusion immersive instruction. So the demographic where Mariella did go to school, it still exists and has grown today. So in 2023, the 2023 World Population Review shares 6.85% of Hialeah, Florida residents speak only English, while 93.15% speak other languages. The non-English language spoken by the largest group is Spanish, which is spoken by 92.49% of the population. I couldn't find a record representing the percentages of Spanish-speaking immigrants that graduated during the 1990s, but I was able to find research data that supported which state an English language learner attends school in significantly impacts their chances of graduating. So as of 2020, Florida ranks second highest in the US with almost 90% of ELs graduating. In the data I read, it suggests that these academic successes are related to educational laws, programs aimed at supporting these students, and resources implemented into these groups. So Mariella told me in fact, this is a quote, by the time 11th grade rolled around, I told my mom, you need to do something to get me out of this ESL class. My mom talked to the advisor and they gave me another test. By then, I scored high enough to be able to go to regular classes. Mariella's mom helped her advocate for herself, and this is one of the most important events that allowed Mariella access to greater education. So inclusion and exclusion. This is a topic that is still debated today. So depending on the student's language proficiency, this can be difficult. So inclusion means that the EL learners are together with all the students in the general education classroom. Excuse me. This allows students to have greater opportunities and exposure to English language. It gives them access to grade level curriculum. So exclusion, like the class that Mariella was in, segregates students. It allows them to focus explicitly on English language, but it also places them with other English language learners. It is usually a smaller class size, so there is extra attention that can be offered. So the federal government states the rights to education for ELs, but it doesn't say how these rights should be accomplished. The Department of Education states the school should avoid unnecessary segregation of EL students, and EL students must have access to their grade level curricula so that they can meet promotion and graduation requirements. So there are accommodations and areas that districts can implement that better support ELs. I have a list of 4 of them up here. The first one is, it talks about evaluating 4 areas. So like in Mariella's experience, how she was just asked a few questions, we can do better than that. And all EL students should be evaluated in their speaking, reading, writing, and listening. These assessments should be done every semester so that students can be offered opportunities and support that effectively meet their needs. In our school district locally here, each EL has an EL plan. It's similar to an IEP. It is designed to give teachers those evaluation results and a list of accommodations that explicitly support that specific student. And it helps them to be able to access grade access grade level curriculum. The school district uses a single connections or like study hall class period specific to aiding English language support. Other than that, all of the English language learners are integrated and in the general education classes. In Mariella's case, the specific SIOP or SIOP area of engagement would have offered many accommodations that could have supported her learning. The accommodations that support engagement are academic rigor, use of visuals and scaffolding to create access to curriculum, collaboration, teacher-student collaboration to adjust lesson goals, specific expectations, and desired outcomes. Also, opportunities for interaction would have really helped language acquisition and hands-on learning, peer-to-peer communication opportunities, and student-led or student-centered activities. All of these support English learners and can be implemented in general classrooms. When Mariella, her senior year, joined a general education classroom, she explained that there was a significant change. She felt like the teachers treated her and taught her like she was a regular student in a regular classroom. Her class now had more structure, homework, expectations, and accountability. She expressed how these new expectations and accountability fostered greater self-motivation and realization of academic success. All right, so what I learned through this interview and this ethnographic. So I think there's about 5 things that really were impactful. And the first is discovering that high expectations and accountability motivated Mariella. It taught me that academic rigor and encouragement is essential for engaging students. As a result, I want to support my students by teaching them to adopt a growth mindset and encourage them to aim for high academic standards. The second thing is taking time to communicate opportunities and avoiding the mindset that a language barrier should also be a barrier for students. Many ELs are immigrants that came here to accomplish more than they might have been available to them previously. We need to give them those opportunities to excel. The third thing I learned, we really need to get to know our students and encourage them, collaborate with them, create opportunities for interaction, and incorporate hands-on learning activities. This will exponentially increase their language acquisition. Number 4 is reaching out and building a partnership with their families. Especially if there's a language barrier, this can provide added resources and strengthen our ability as teachers to meet that student's educational needs. And lastly, recognizing the impact of their cultural identities and how that can motivate students. So we need to incorporate curriculum content with elements that relate to our students' diverse cultural backgrounds and make what they're learning more meaningful and engaging for everyone. Thank you for joining me for my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.